Welcome to Left On Wed.
Bite-sized tips for people getting hitched. Georgia Fletcher.
Adam Sini.
In the same room.
How did we get here?
In this part of town.
As I get older, I'm 29. As we get older, the idea of golf gets more exciting to me.
Oh.
Just hitting balls on green and walking around for a few hours.
We could do a whole episode.
On golf?
No, on how we know we're getting old.
How you know you're getting old. I can't stay up past midnight without crying. I had a friend recently that said to me, it was like, oh yeah, my partner had everyone over for a birthday the other night. I was like, oh, big night? And he goes, no, we were in bed by 2 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God, 2 a.m.?
10 p.m. is late.
10 p.m? I'm in bed by then. I'm sleeping.
I get excited for a new podcast episode, a new audiobook.
Oh my God, what podcast do you love?
I love...
There's one right answer right now, Georgia.
Okay, can I phone a friend?
Yes, call me.
They said Left On Wed.
Yeah, I didn't answer the phone. I was texting you.
Oh, that's the new...
I love this podcast. Do you subscribe to it?
I do.
Or on what platform?
Apple Podcasts.
I'm on Spotify.
I also thought I was being really clever by leaving a review. You shouldn't leave a review on your own podcast.
What did you say?
I went back and I deleted the comment.
Oh my God, you deleted it?
But I love our podcast so much. I just
You
sort of
reviewed
deleted
it.
the feed.
Hi there. I love being the co-host of this podcast, and I think it's really funny and you should do more episodes.
Adam is getting really old.
Adam is 29
really
and wants to
funny.
go golfing. Hey, if you're not the host of this podcast, can you leave us a review, please? Because Georgia is deleting them at a rapid pace. It actually really helps us because we're just a little small potty, right?
We are.
And we know that you come and go, but we need people to listen to this podcast to keep us going. We need our egos to be inflated, basically.
So big.
Otherwise, Georgia writes herself reviews. Go on her Google reviews. Her pseudonym is Hey Sexy Georgia 230 at hotmail.com.
Stop turning it into that podcast.
Oh my God.
We are not that
We're not
podcast.
working well together right now,
We
are
are
we?
not working well together. How do we work well together?
Hey, you know what's really weird? Is that for the next 20 minutes, we're going to be talking about exactly that because, oh my God, this is so weird. Today's topic,
Working with your partner.
working with your partner during the whole wedding planning, wait for it, my favorite word, journey.
Love it.
What song does Journey sing?
I don't know.
Don't stop
Don't trust
believing?
me with karaoke. We've
We've
learned
proved
that
this
the
in
hard
season
way.
1 that we pissed off Enrique Iglesias.
And Ricky
Martin.
Martin.
Working with your partner, right? During the whole process, how do we work with them effectively? How do we delegate roles? How do we have those frank conversations about who does what? We're going to be going through it all.
And we've even got a voice note with the incredible Julie Muir to have a little listen to because she is an expert in marriage education, not just a celebrant, not just a confetti maker, but a marriage education specialist who works with couples, and she's got some really cool tips and tricks on how you can overcome those difficult conversations with your partner.
And the reason why we are doing this episode, because we've actually been asked by a few people that they want to talk about this topic, but quite often we will hear in meetings with couples where one person will say, I'm doing the bulk of the work. And maybe they say it in jest or whatever, and that's what they're good at, that's fine. But we hear it quite often, and it's like, okay, maybe we're not working effectively with each other. So we thought that we could just go through it a little bit from our perspective and look at some little ways that you could have those conversations and work a little bit better with your partner during the wedding planning journey.
We're going to talk about, from a personal point of view,
Yep.
a personal POV. Adam, what did you do in the lead up to your wedding?
So my wife, Ange, is a great wedding planner in her own right. Very organised person. But I had big interest in the wedding, obviously being in the industry myself. So I had a lot of thoughts and opinions on certain things. But we did divide and conquer. We had whips every now and then, a work in progress, where we would sit down and be like, okay, what needs to be done? And then we would delegate little jobs to each other that we could do or do things together. I did show a keen interest, and I also knew that it wasn't one person's job to do the entire wedding planning. So yeah, I took on little roles here and there. I helped with the booking process. Obviously, I knew a lot of vendors, so I did a lot of the booking as well of vendors. But yeah, we did a little bit of a divide and conquer. What about you and Max? What did you guys do?
So we got married 7 years ago now, before the
Jesus.
days of social media, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest was all the rage.
Speaking of old.
Speaking of old, how do you know when you're old? When you say 7
Been
years
married for
married.
7
I know.
years.
Together 13.
Oh my God.
What is this? It's great. That's what it is. So when we were getting married, when we were engaged, I took on the role of a lot of the planning because it was what I was good at. It was a lovely break for me from teaching. I was teaching full-time at the time, and I really enjoyed the admin. Loved the emails, loved the organising of creating things and booking people. Max, my lovely husband, is very handy. We did a lot of DIY. We were getting married at Seclusions in the Blue Mountains where it was, shout out, where you have to bring a lot of your things in. And Max created lots of stuff. We went to garage sales together and got some styling items. And on the day, we were one of those couples where he just showed up. So that was handy for him. But he's a beautiful person, and that is A-okay.
Can I ask you a question that you don't have to answer?
Of course.
Did you at any point during the process resent did you want more from him?
It was so long ago because I'm so old. I can't actually.
Yeah, so 1973 was how long ago? Yeah.
I can't actually remember. And now that I'm in the wedding industry and I've seen lots of great ways that couples are doing it, and also there's so many resources and comparisons out there to feel inspired and to have those conversations, we would definitely do it differently, because I have no doubt that after long days at work, we were both working full time, there would be no way that I had the mental capacity on my own the entire time where I didn't feel like, oh, happy wife, happy life, that stupid phrase that we hear all the time.
Yeah.
And the yes man approach that he just nods and agrees, and we hear it all the time.
All the time.
So yes, we were probably one of those couples that were guilty of me taking the reins and Max going along for the ride.
Yeah.
It was a great day, great wedding, but there are ways to do it differently now.
So you had more on your plate than you would want to.
Yeah, brain capacity full. Should I have got a coordinator? Yes. Should I have delegated to people that offered for help? Yes.
Yes. And I think maybe it comes down to at the very start is don't bite off more than you can chew, right? So it's like, what can I handle? How much can my partner handle? Okay, so maybe we shouldn't do this XYZ, all these DIY elements as well on top of that.
I also like the phrase intervention is the best prevention.
Oh, wow.
So intervening on what's not working to prevent any unnecessary stress and overwhelm.
Yeah.
So intervening, and I think planning what you would like to do, what you're good at, and then what they are good at, and then also enjoying a life outside of wedding planning.
Yeah. That's
really
so
important.
Right? It's like, and we see it a lot as well, where couples get so into the wedding planning and it becomes all of their life and all they can speak about, and it's so exciting. And yeah, of course, like, you're getting married. It's nuts. It's crazy. But it's like, oh, what is out my life besides this? Because then you talk about the wedding day, post-wedding day blues and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, it's really real.
So like, you know, temper your expectations a little bit for the whole thing.
Otherwise, you'll be like me and just become a celebrant afterwards.
Yeah, I know. Some of us just join the wedding industry and never leave because you're so obsessed with it.
That's what I did.
Legit.
That is what I did. That is me. But now that I am a celebrant, I've seen some really cool things that couples are doing.
My ass cheek fell asleep, so I had to change sides. I'm so sorry that I told you about it, but I've got a dead butt cheek. And this butt cheek's not working with its partner on this butt cheek. This one's awake. This little partner over here fell asleep.
I really want to have something to say to support what you're doing.
But you can't. You don't want to talk about my butt, and that's fine. Nobody does anymore.
In my head, I'm like, so what are those two butt cheeks doing to come together for
That's what good
Adam?
waffles do. They stick together. Right? My butt cheeks are waffles.
That was ridiculous.
I like what you said about taking to your strengths, right? So if one person I do understand is really good at that organization, they love the spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff, then yeah, they're probably going to take a bigger role in it. And I guess maybe we are alluding a lot to a hetero relationship here, because that's what we see a lot in those relationships where, you know, traditionally the bride is doing more and the groom is sitting there nodding and being a yes man. And that's kind of where this episode did stem from. It doesn't just, it's for all couples as well. But that's what we see a lot, is the dude sitting there going, yes, whatever you want. And it's like, that's fine. And if that's what you want in your relationship and you're happy with that, that's cool as well. But maybe take a more open and excited view for your wedding as well. Get involved. Find something that you are good at or that you want to be interested in and take that, because on the day, you're going to feel more proud when you're there. It's like, oh, that was my idea over there, or I organised that, or that first dance song, that was my choice.
And you probably won't have a wedding sign that says, welcome to so-and-so's wedding featuring so-and-so.
Yeah.
So avoiding things like that. But if that's your style, it's an inside joke and people like that, that's fantastic. And that's a personal touch for your wedding day. So before we get to the wedding day, we're talking all about our experiences so far. But circling back to the initial wedding planning processes, it's really important to sit down with your partner, maybe plan what you want in budget, guest list. Those are things that you can do together. Mm-hmm. Choosing the right setting, the right time of day to be able to do that. So whether you are morning people, you grab your morning coffee, sit at the dining table or go out for breakfast, and then you can sit down and have a lovely wedding planning date. Yep. Or the opposite, and you're having little bite-sized chunks throughout the week of wedding planning ideas that you're sharing, and then you need to dedicate some time completely free of wedding chat.
Yeah, we would do that as well. We'd be like, because wedding, it does take over everything, especially we did a DIY. So it's like, oh my God, it's everything. But, we would have our conversations like, okay, we need to sit down and look at our spreadsheet and see what we need to do and who we need to talk to. Great, we're going out for dinner tonight. No wedding talk. I'm over it. Let's not talk about it. Fine. And I think also going back to the start of the whole talking wedding planning process, I had a point to make and it's totally gone out of my head just then.
Oh no, your poor butt cheeks, your poor brain.
Poor butt cheeks. Well, left side of my brain turned off. Yep, out of my brain. Oh, poor Adam.
I'm going to give a shout out to one of my amazing couples, Katie and Zach. I had a Zoom with them very recently. They're both project managers. So communication, planning, timelines, schedules, it is their love language. And what I love that they do is they're sliding doors throughout the week. They're not being able to catch each other with real intention, real time to give to wedding planning. So they have a shared notes app so that they can add those thoughts throughout the week. And on a Friday night, they give themselves 1 hour to talk all things weddings.
That's so cute.
So as we had our wedding planning meeting over Zoom, I'm their celebrant and their MC. So we chatted all things run sheet to ceremony, personal touches, timelines, things like that. They were writing notes to add to their agenda for the Friday night meeting.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I really loved. And that's not for everyone. Sometimes people can tackle those little ad breaks throughout the week to say, hey, I've booked the Celebrant, or hey, I've booked in a meeting with our photographer this week. That's great. But if you've got those ideas like, ooh, what do you think about the type of alcohol we should have? That's probably one that you need to sit down and think about before the big day.
Yeah, and I've had a few couples, and I'm going to go talk to I'm going to call them our sister podcast, Make It Epic podcast, Tim and Matt, because we've both been on it basically.
Sisters.
And we talked about it, I think, on the vow episode on their potty, which you can go have a look at. We had a particular couple who, when they wrote their vows, they made a thing about it, right? And you could do this for the whole wedding planning process as well. If you're sitting down, you're talking about it. They popped a bottle of wine, they had a nice meal, and they made it kind of a date thing where that's where they were talking about it, and they made it a thing, right? They played their favorite music, and they made it a fun activity rather than something that they had to get through to get to that point. On that as well, I do want to mention, and this is kind of just talking about relationships in general. I mean, we did rate on the relationships Apple podcast charts. I mean, we can talk about relationships and basically a counsellor. So, I want to talk about Ange and I. We make a thing, right, where we don't do it every night. We are guilty of sitting down and having dinner on the couch and watching telly, and that's what we like to do. But we also try our hardest when we have a nice dinner to sit at the dining table together and have a chat. We've got children and dogs and lives, right? So it's really nice that we can have a moment where we just sit down and debrief and talk crap and do that sort of thing and remember that we still love each other because the world is crazy and you don't get to spend all the time together.
That's beautiful.
So try and make time for each other, I think, as well, just to be a team and be together. And going, let's talk about kids, right? This is something that I've always kept in mind when we've been raising our little one, little two now, Jeebus, is that we are a team. And sometimes it feels like there's a tiny little demon that's trying to destroy us. We have to remember that we are a team, Ange and I, and we are on the same team. And it's like, even though the tiny demon is making us sleep deprived, we are a team together. And maybe the tiny demon is your wedding.
Iggy, if you're listening to this one day while you're wedding planning, your dad loves you very much.
I'm sorry, Iggy, I love you so much. I'm going to cry. Kid woke up at 5 a.m. this morning, Georgia. Jeebus.
Post-child blues, is that what's going on? Post-child sleep deprivation.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. It's in my brain.
You'll be okay.
Adam had something else to say. Remember that time where I forgot my point? I've remembered it again
Shit.
and it's gone out of my mind until I finish this sentence. I think I'm losing my mind. Okay, what about when you are planning the wedding from the start? What about, Georgia, if the two of you are on a different page for what you actually want, right? Person one is like, I want this big farm-style 100-person wedding, and person two is like, I want to get married at a restaurant with 20 people for a lunch. So what do we do?
We have to compromise.
Yeah.
We have to look at our budget. We have to look at our guest list.
Yeah.
And we have to look at other things that we've maybe swept under the rug and already compromised on.
Yeah, beaut.
So I've mentioned this on the podcast episode already when it came to micro weddings and elopements, where this couple wanted a big party. One of them wanted a big party. The other one wanted a ceremony. So they got 25 of their closest friends and family. That was her compromise. And they hired the surf club. He got his 150-person party.
Yeah, great.
It was fantastic. So those conversations are really hard, and this is where we can plan our dates for wedding planning around fun things to do. So go on different tours of different venues. Go to open days. Come to Longreef. They have open
They
days.
do
Keep
too.
an eye on their socials. They haven't got one booked yet, but please come and visit Longreef.
Make a thing about wedding planning. Make it fun.
Yeah.
Make it fun. Make it together and make it fun. And if your partner isn't contributing as much as you want, tell them to listen to this episode of Left on Wed.
Yes. What I did love about our planning process with Max and I is we didn't love the idea of a first dance, but we loved learning it because it was also fun to do together, because it was another great date to do to learn a dance.
I don't know if you saw this, but Wedshed did a post on Instagram about this. We love Wedshed. And they said they both didn't do first dances at their wedding. I didn't do one at our wedding. They were never a big fan of it, but then they saw this video that went viral of a couple learning their first dance in their lounge room, and you could see them every time they were doing it. They were tripping on each other's feet. They were laughing. I think their kid was there as well, like enjoying it.
Saw that.
And
was great.
It wasn't about the first dance moment at the reception. It was about all that time that they spent together having fun learning the dance, which was a really cute thing to do, which is like keeping the fun in that process.
So we've talked about dedicating time with intention. We've talked about having a life outside of the wedding planning. We've talked about having a first dance, going for tours, listening to this episode.
Yeah.
How else can we get our partners involved?
Well, I think we should go to an expert
I think we should too.
because I'm not.
You're not.
You're not.
I'm not either.
I'm not.
But we're great celebrants, so that's good.
So let's get Julie Muir up, and she's going to give us a little bit of a tip. Take it away, Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Muir, a full-time celebrant and MC based in Newcastle in the Hunter Valley, and I have another string to my bow too. I'm also a relationship educator. Let's get real for a minute. Disagreements in wedding planning are inevitable. You don't need to agree on everything to be an amazing team. You know, it's all about compromise and remembering that marriage is a team sport. You either win together or you lose together. Seeing couples stressed or bickering over seating arrangements breaks my heart. Or worse, sometimes I find out that couples that I've married have broken up less than a few years after their wedding. It happens. That's why I trained as a Prepare and Enrich program facilitator. Yeah, the name might sound a bit corny, but trust me, it's legit. Over 3 million couples have done this program worldwide. I am on a personal crusade to make pre-marital education as common as swiping right. I really want it to be the norm for all engaged couples. So here are some tips to avoid disagreements while wedding planning. First up, play to your strengths. Figure out what gets your partner jazzed about wedding planning and let them take the lead on that. Whether it's choosing the music, selecting the menu, or deciding on the honeymoon destination, focus on involving them in the areas where they feel most passionate. Except that wedding planning is very rarely 50-50, and it's very normal for one person to fall more into the planner role. Try to attend meetings with vendors together though, so that you both have the opportunity to provide input and ask questions and feel involved in the process. It's important to respect your partner's input. Show that you value their opinions and ideas by actively listening to what they have to say. Communication is obviously key. Listen to each other, even if it means occasionally biting your tongue. Remember, sometimes it's better to let go of that Pinterest perfect vision of your wedding if it means keeping the peace. Ask yourself, who cares more about this particular issue? You may decide to let this particular thing go if your partner has strong feelings about it. You don't need to win them all. You should periodically assess your wedding planning stress and assign tasks. There's often a long lead time until the wedding, and your job workload may change during this time, which can affect your ability to complete tasks. If your partner has not followed through on a task that they are responsible for, politely offer to help or take over. The key is to agree together on a shift of responsibility and not to be resentful about it. Schedule regular wedding planning sessions, but avoid discussing difficult topics when you are tired, stressed, or hungry. Celebrate those small victories and milestones along the way. That kind of keeps morale high and makes the wedding planning process more rewarding and fun for both of you. Oh, and don't forget to take breaks. Wedding planning can be a beast, so schedule regular self-care to decompress and remember why you're doing all this in the first place. Love, baby, love. And finally, why not invest in a little pre-marital education? Just FYI, this is different to pre-marriage counselling. You're going to take an online quiz and your relationship educator will guide you through some exercises and discussions. It's fun, I promise. Trust me, it's like giving your relationship a tune-up before hitting the road together. Think of it as insurance for your happily ever after. If your relationship is already strong, you can expect it to increase your bond. And if your relationship has some communication issues that need addressing, now is literally the perfect time. I know it's a stressful time organising a wedding. Emotions are running high and so are the to-do list, but try to remember that your wedding day is all about celebrating love and not necessarily about hosting a flawless event. So when the stress starts to pile up and you find yourself bickering over napkin colours, just take a breath. After all, you don't want to start your journey down the aisle on the wrong foot, do you?
Thanks, Julie.
We love that. We'd already touched on a few of the things that she said, but she went into detail, added that extra sugar and spice.
Yeah, and premarital counselling. And it's like she said, it's not exactly what it sounds like. It's not this big, scary taboo thing. And you don't have to have a struggling relationship to do it. Like she said, it's fun. And you might find that you just go into this wedding stronger than ever and come out the other side, in one piece. Which
and
is
couples
lovely.
that get married in a church, they have to do that. They have to do the pre-marriage education. So why not add a little bit of, add a few more tools into your toolkit to go forth and marry.
What's in your toolkit? Hold on, let me open mine. Oh, there's a cat in mine.
Oh. I'm not meowing again on
Please.
the podcast.
Oh my God, I was trying so hard.
Absolutely
Go back
not.
to season 1 if you want to hear Georgia purring like a cat.
And failing at karaoke. But how have we worked together as partners on this podcast?
I think that we got better. We got stronger. This was basically like a counselling session to each other.
How does that make you feel?
I feel like I need another coffee, maybe?
I feel like that too.
Do you want to go get one now?
Let's go have a planning podcast coffee.
You. Well, it was easy for Oscar to know where to cut the episode, right? Right before that bit.
Hey, thanks for listening.
We are so happy that you listened. I'm over the moon. In fact, if you want a little bit more, follow us on the socials. Where are we?
You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Left on Wed Podcast.
And if you want to inquire with our services for Celebrant MC and coordination, you can find Georgia at Georgia Fletcher Celebrant.
And you can find Adam at Married by Adam.
Hey, if you have any ideas, questions, topics for episodes, please slide into our DMs. You can send us an email as well, which is
leftonwedpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you're loving the podcast, please tell your friends, tell people who are getting hitched. We need you to spread the word like wildfire. Get it out there.
We really want to say a big thank you to Long Reef Golf Club as well for letting us record the podcast here at their incredible wedding venue. So inquire with them today if you're looking for the perfect wedding venue for your private event or your wedding.
See you there soon, Georgia.
See you there.